Good afternoon. So, without any delay, I would like to introduce you all to our next speaker, Mr. Winnie P. John. Finish, close the door. Would you all like to move to the front? Would you all like to come to the front? It's fine? Okay. So the next speaker, I think the topic would be very relevant to you, and he's from the industry that you're all in, and very interesting perspectives that he would like to bring about. Winnie P. John is Planning and Logistics Director in Indian Subcontinent at GlaxoSmithKline Consumer Healthcare Limited. With more than 24 years of experience in FMCG manufacturing and supply chain operations, Winnie John has worked with companies like GSK, Marico, Hindustan Lever, and A.V. Thomas during his long and distinguished career. He has managed all facets of manufacturing and supply chains, from sourcing and planning to operations, quality control, projects, and customer delivery. In a corporate role over the past 6 years, John has taken a leadership role in supply chain planning and logistics, customer service, new product introductions, and contract manufacturing for GlaxoSmithKline Consumer Healthcare across Indian subcontinent. He's also a certified master coach for GlaxoSmithKline leadership trainers in Asia, and is responsible for grooming the next generation leadership for the organization. I welcome Winnie John to take over.
It's always, good to be actually present in a post-afternoon session, and I have this ladies and two ladies and gentlemen sitting here now. I always end up actually having this session. I don't know why it happens to me always. I always end up actually, having this afternoon session. So the good news is that I don't have a presentation, and I would try and actually cover, things in next 15 minutes or so. Because this benchmark is my daughter who is doing her engineering. The moment I speak to her, says, Papa, whatever you say, you tell me in 10 to 12 minutes. I can't listen beyond that. So, I've learned the art of actually, talking in brief. And, so I will try and do this small conversation, sharing my experience and perspectives in the next 15 minutes or so. First of all, actually, how many of you are involved in supply chain? Anybody involved in supply chain? Wonderful, yes. At least there are 2 to 3 people who are involved, actually. And how many of you work in the IT space? Predominantly. I get a flavor and taste of what you guys are actually, so that I can talk accordingly. Now, first of all, actually, what the session is about, what I'm trying to cover actually is, from a business perspective, in supply chain, what are some of the key focus areas moving in the future? Business landscape, like everywhere, has changed. It has changed in India, it has changed beyond recognition in India and all over the world, actually. So what is in it which is that we guys need to focus? Now, can anyone in this room be brave enough to give me what is supply chain? What is a supply chain? Anybody have an answer? Yes, sir. Origin to the end user. Fantastic. Any other definition of a supply chain? Origin to end user is one of the definitions which came. Any other definition of a supply chain? Yes, sir.
On time.
On time. Fantastic. Again, very right.
All new products, sub-products, parts from their original location, not
Okay.
from the ground up, to the manufacturing product and then to the customer.
Thank you. Again, a very good answer actually. And to the people who came in late, I was just asking this group, what is the definition of a supply chain? What's your understanding of a supply chain? Yes, sir.
Raw material procurement, from raw material procurement to the supply of finished goods to the customer.
Fantastic. Again, a fantastic point actually. Yes, sir. You have.
And demand and supply in right quantity in right time to the satisfaction of the customer.
Thank you.
Production and distribution of commodity.
Pardon?
Production and distribution of commodity.
Production and distribution of commodity. Again, good. Yes, sir.
Being able to provide the right product at the right time at the right place.
Fantastic. I think, I will sort of pause here actually. And you all heard definitions of supply chain. And as one of these gentlemen said actually, it is about actually starting from sourcing till it comes to our hands, to the customer's hand. That's a supply chain. For that you need to source, you need to manufacture, you need to plan, you need to deliver, you need to predict actually what is the demand. There are lots of processes involved. So as a collective team, we probably understand supply chain differently, but then as we know, supply chain is all about from actually the farm to the plate, as many of us say actually. What all goes inside the supply chain? Now, how has things changed in India actually? How has the landscape changed? When I studied in school, doing my engineering and my business, I was told actually that you need to make sure that demand is stable. You need to make sure that supply is consistent. That was how we all learned supply chain. Today, we all have come to realize that demand will vary. I might take 2 chapatis today, and for all reasons you may not know, I might take 5 chapatis tomorrow. Today, life has changed. Life has changed actually for all of us. So today's supply chains are about managing the demand variation. To give you an example, it's so complex today. When Shah Rukh Khan or Amir Khan actually launches a movie, they need to predict with a fair amount of accuracy how much CDs will sell, because 80 to 90% of CD sales happen in the first 1 week. The good news is that today we have tools which we can predict to certain decent accuracy. So today, if I am selling soaps, detergents, personal care products, tea, coffee, my own Horlicks, there is actually a demand pattern which I need to understand. I can't tell the consumer that he or she need to consume consistently, buy a bottle of Horlicks every week once. I can't tell him or her. They will choose. Now, as professionals in business, our job is to make sure that we have a product at the ambulance of desire. To do this, we need to understand demand. We also need to manage our processes behind, equip our factories, equip our sourcing team, equip our logistics to cater to that. So the business change of today is that we need to manage the complexity which today we all experience. I'm sorry, actually, I'll just take this on. So the challenge today is, to the IT professionals here, the challenge here is connecting my consumer to the factory and beyond the factory to my vendors. So today is an era where we don't do many things sitting in corporate offices. We do collaborative planning. Collaborative planning, we do it along with the teams in the supply chain. We do collaborative planning sitting along with marketeers. We do collaborating planning sitting along with the sales force. So it is about what we need to do as supply chain professionals in a consumer goods organization. Whether it be Levers, whether it be P&G, whether it is GlaxoSmithKline, we need to do that. So the change is we do today collaborative planning. We today do collaborative forecasting. Earlier, in a sales system, you have people at the various levels. A guy actually sits in Ludhiana and predicts actually what he or she might sell in Ludhiana region. Somebody who sits in Chikmagalur actually, sitting there makes a prediction how he might sell or she might sell. That's history. And if you are still using those processes, you are somewhere lost. Today, we actually need to predict demand with much more accuracy. If you depend on the antiquated systems, it is a recipe for disaster. So again, actually, it is about collaborative forecasting. The forecasters sit with marketing teams, sales team, understand the impact of a TRP on a region, understand the impact of a promotion in a region much better than what it is done by one person sitting in one corner of this country. Things have again changed. Why I am coming to all this is where we would need the collective intelligence of this group. The next three piece is actually replenishment. India have, I don't know, people have various numbers, more than 2 million retail outlets in this country. These all need to be served. We are worried about Walmarts actually, but many of us are worried about how do we service that 2 millionth retail outlet in one part of this country. India is huge. The consumer base is huge. Our terrain is, our logistics is not fully developed. So there are challenges there. So these are some of the challenges today we face. So to meet these challenges, I am coming to the second part of my presentation. All these are background material which I told you. What is that in consumer industry, in a supply chain, what do we need to do? I have three things to do. One is your supply chain need to be resilient. Resilience to the changes which happen in the market. Resilience to the changes which happen in the environment. Suddenly you will have 2 days bump on 20th and 21st of February. Now if I go and say that I sold less because there was 2 days of bump in this country, nobody is going to be happy about it. So I need to plan in such a way that in this part of the world actually, how a supply chain we are resilient to all these things. Everybody says actually that, Indians are good in complexity management because we are used to complexity in our lives. When we were grown up actually, we have to jump into a train or a bus which is overloaded. We learned the art of complexity management. So I think this is again a piece in which actually, we need resilience in our supply chain. No excuses are allowed actually to say that, this happened, that happened. Inflation is at 8%, so, Horlicks consumption goes down. Sorry, nobody is willing to do that. If inflation is high, reduce your prices and sell more. So that's the time of today. So, supply chain resilience means sense events which are happening or happened or going to happen and respond accordingly. So this is one of the priorities of supply chain, and I will come back later on how do you guys can help us in doing that. Second is, there was this word called complexity reduction. It's a bit outdated word today. Complexity is here to stay, whether we like it or not. The customer says, I need a red mobile phone, we need to give it to him or her. We can't say, sorry, I only produce black. So we need complexity management. I might say that, look, take my 500 gram pack. He will say, sorry, I only need a 300 gram pack. He or she might say that. Provide them that. There are no choices. Because if you don't do it, somebody else will do it. So we need to manage complexity in our system. It means, how do we manage complexity? If there are certain features in your product which do not add value to the customer, remove that feature. If you offer services which you may not need, don't give that offer services. As a mobile consumer, you might want your time clock to tick in seconds rather than minutes. Provide them the features. The last but not the least is, anywhere in the system, you have excess capacity. You have an office room which is only 75% occupied. Give up that 20%. If you have a warehouse in which you utilize only 60% of the space, give it up that. So these are complexity management which we need actually to run a good business. The last but not the least, maybe after repeated, is responsiveness to the customer. The customer is crazy. He can be crazy, she can be crazy. But what is in our control is how we can support them in replenishing, in servicing them better. So again, to repeat, the three challenges for supply chains of today, moving into 2013 and beyond. There are three things which I said. One is our supply chains need to be more resilient, one. Number 2, I said, is we need to find ways of managing complexity. The third piece is responsiveness to the customers. So these are 3 things we as a business need. And how can you guys help? And those are the things which I am coming to next. The expectation out of business from all of us today, including you and me, is one is provide supply chain visibility. Let me explain it in a very simplistic fashion. If your business knows that how much you sold today, how much you produced today, how much is sitting in your warehouses, how much is in transit, basic information. How many supply chains have this information? Do I have this information today morning at 8 o'clock in my office? If I have that, I am in control, fairly in control of my business. At least I have the basic information. Trust me, 90% of the organizations don't have this. They have it with a long lead time. There's a lot of lag time. There's a lot of lag which happens. So today, as a business, if I have this information in one place, there are sometimes people have it in 100 places. God knows, nobody knows where it is. But if you have it in one place, how much you produced today, how much you sold today, how much is in transit, and how much you have holding it in your warehouses or wherever it is. I think that's the first basic information. You ask anybody, yeah, I have ERP in this. Which features of ERP we use, hardly anybody knows. Or we have 10 levers in ERP, use 2 levers. I'm using SAP, I'm using this, I'm using that. But use 2 levers. As a basic supply chain, this is what is required, basic information. Then comes the next level of information. Do I have visibility of what I might sell tomorrow? Do I have visibility of what I might sell in the next 1 week? These are added information. Do I know of quantity in transit, how much will be delivered tomorrow? Again, these are visibility which hardly most of the supply chains don't have today. And I think India being the hub of information technology, it's a pity that if you don't have, majority of our organizations don't have it. With exceptions, some organizations have it, fantastic. I'm not doubting the credentials, but majority don't have it. That's the truth of the matter. So the first thing which I said was supply chain visibility, real time. The next piece actually is the tools and enablers. I told you a classic case of how sometimes demand forecasting is done across various businesses. Someone who I have all the respect for the sales guys, but someone who sits in one corner of the country predicts how he might sell next week or next month. The guy doesn't have visibility of how much advertisement is going in there sometimes. What are the key events happening? What is the response of the external world? And he or she makes a good punt, and that punt may or may not be right always. So today, we have tools which can forecast demand to much higher accuracy than it has been done in the past. How many organizations today have demand management tools? Not many. I can again assure you, not many have. Again, people say, I have ERP. But what's about ERP actually? So this is again, something which we need tools and enablers. Tools which give you unbiased data. Unbiased data. Tools which give you realistic data. If I know my sales trend of last 3 years, possibly I have tools available which can predict short-term demand to a fair amount of accuracy, provided you give the right inputs. Why are we hesitating in using it and very comfortable with our own Excel sheets? Again, something to think about actually. And again, the processes. There are times actually, most of the Indian companies, or even in multinational companies, processes get vitiated. People don't talk to each other. People talk through emails, and there you miss the punch. How many times do we sit at least, 1 hour together actually to close these numbers? Again, the organization needs processes to do this. Again, can IT help? 100%. There are very well-developed tools in the space actually which we can get this done. So I talked about supply chain visibility where IT can provide us support. I also said that there is so much of relevant tools in this space. I think and processes in this space which we can make best use of. The third point is customization, and many a times we make this mistake. We buy actually software packages worth crores and crores of rupees, not customized to certain specific requirement. And this is where I think the internal strength of an organization lies. Let me give you a small example, not necessarily connected actually with the youngest airline of India is Indigo. And anybody from Indigo in this team? Indigo organization? Anybody? No. Now, Indigo is the latest entrant. Why do most of us fly Indigo? Many of us, it has become the largest airline, in a very short span of time. Why do we fly in Indigo? Any on time. On time. How did they achieve this? There are many guys who are before them. This is the latest airline. How did they achieve on time? I was attending a conference very recently on this, and I heard the chieftain of Indigo speaking about it actually. He says, small things which they did. Something which you might have observed is Indigo actually have this rack rather than the steps to go up. You might have observed that actually. Indigo has, a upward rack actually which goes in. You know why they did it? First, it is a rack, that sloping rack is cheaper by 25% compared to that steps. Many of us do not know. The steps which normally most of the other airlines have, this rack actually costs 25% less. The second thing which they did is, because when we walk in this ramp actually, we walk 25% faster than climbing steps. So your uploading time of passengers, if I may use that word, comes down by 25%. Your cost drops by 25%. We have all seen it, but we may not have thought about it. Just an example, how customization helps. Is it that guys in Indigo are super brainy guys? They applied themselves. It's not about brains, it's about application. So we might have the finest of IT tools with us, but is of no use, we don't customize it. Again, this is an important one. Do we have brains in this room and outside who can customize these fantastic tools? A question. Sorry, the last piece which I have is, lastly but not the least, is of course the talent pool. You go to a business school, I go to them very regularly. You ask them, what do you want? I want a career in investment banking, I want in marketing, I want in brand building. How many of them say actually that some of these areas which we are speaking about? So if I don't get in investment banking, okay, I will try a supply chain. Let me try an IT industry. Are we able to actually attract talent, create talent, and develop them? Attracting talent is easy, they might flow away in no time. You need to attract the best of talent, you need to create the best of talent, and you actually need to develop this talent. It's not about technical talent. As I told you, Indigo is not about brains alone. It's about an attitude which an organization and the thought leadership around it which can provide. So I think it's all about these four. So let me again repeat. I think how can this group help us? Supply chain visibility, as I said, tools and enablers, customization, and talent.
About the production kind of a thing where you're talking about FMCG kind of a product which have thousands of products and audience all around the country, even in small villages. But that is the extreme end of the supply chain management. The other one is from the e-space, e-retail, where you sell first and then you procure after that.
Yep.
And then there are other models like the milk business, which is perishables. You have to maintain the cold chains and other things. So there's a lot of other complexities involved in the supply chain.
That's right.
Just than managing and knowing where your goods are.
I agree with you. I think these are very different actually. And what I was just covering is overall. We also actually do some e-business. We also procure milk. I understand the complexities. I myself has procured milk actually, so I understand these complexities. So very relevant point. And thank you. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
My colleague Nisha will be here.
Yeah, I think we'll have one last question and probably we can in case there is any.
Right now, how do you think the IT supply chain management, which the term we used earlier as a broader cycle, is now I think we are reducing too much, like SRM is coming in place. So a lot of things are happening, right? Now traditional SCM is, now we can say it is just going out and the new concepts are coming in. So I think the cycle is reducing. How you take over that?
I think the processes which I said was exactly the same. The old process as I gave you was actually demand created by sales team. It's today collaborative demand creation. Earlier replenishment was done on every month I need to dump so much on a distributor. Today actually you replenish what the distributor's inventory norms are. So it has moved on. It has moved on in many of the forward-looking organizations. So it has transformed in the last 10 years, and I have seen that happening in front of my own eyes.
And regarding IT, that deploying IT in SCM, so how you think that whether is an ERP which fully can satisfy SCM needs? Because I haven't realized the way like SAP or these kind of things work more better into SCM. So how you prefer, or what is your take on that?
Actually, I think if you have a package ERP which fulfills totally your planning needs, nothing like having one. In reality, sometimes it may not happen. We have a ERP which is one, and we have a planning tool which is another. We interface them. We don't actually want to, we want to go with the best planning tool which is customized for our requirements and our needs. So we found that, and we interface it with the ERP. So it doesn't mean that actually you need to have the same package. And many guys have done this actually. You talk about many organizations, they have separate packages. They don't actually weld the ERP with the planning tools, not necessarily.
Just one small question.
Yes.
Has anybody started using GPS on the vehicle's movement to predict the arrival of goods at the destination?
Many have actually. It's at early phases, GPS is used. And people also today use very simple mobile technology. Very simple mobile technology actually to capture that. I think it's amazing how it has been done. You can call it the Indian jugaad, but that also has been equally effective in some of the logistics organizations.
But that is dependent on the other person sending the
Yeah.
message. If he fails, then you are lost.
Absolutely. But GPM is prevalent in many places actually. It is. I would say probably 5%, or maybe slightly less than that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.